Imagine this: you wake up every morning, and instead of being dragged by your old habits, your old thoughts, and your old emotions, you are the master of your day. You don't just think, you create. You don't just react, you choose. That's the difference between being controlled by your mind and controlling your mind. And today, I want to show you how to brainwash yourself into freedom. When you begin to truly understand that your thoughts create your reality, everything in your life starts to look different. For most people, this idea sounds simple, but its depth is far greater than it first appears. Every thought that moves through your mind is not just an invisible whisper that comes and goes. It is energy. And that energy sends a signal not only inside your brain, but also into your body and into the field around you. The reality you are living right now is the result of the thoughts you repeated yesterday, last month, last year, and for many years before that. Think about it. If every morning you wake up and say, "Life is hard, nothing ever works out for me, I can't change," then those thoughts create a mood, that mood creates an attitude, and that attitude creates a personality that the world recognizes as you. You then live your day in alignment with that thought, unconsciously proving it to yourself again and again. If instead you woke up and said, "I'm grateful, I'm capable, and I am creating a better version of myself today," your mind begins to search for opportunities to confirm those ideas. It's like programming a GPS. Where you set your thoughts is the direction your life begins to move. Let's take an example from daily life. Imagine two people applying for the same job. One person spends the whole night thinking, "I'm not good enough, there are better candidates, I always fail interviews." By the time they arrive at the interview, their body language is closed, their tone lacks confidence, and their answers feel uncertain. The second person, however, spends the night repeating to themselves, "I'm prepared, I have value to bring, and I trust the process." They visualize themselves walking into the room confidently, shaking hands firmly, and answering with clarity. When they arrive, their energy radiates belief. Which of these two people do you think is more likely to land the job? The only difference is their thoughts. This is how powerful your mind is. Your body doesn't know the difference between a real experience and one that is vividly imagined. If you constantly imagine worst-case scenarios, your body reacts as if those failures already happened. It floods you with stress hormones, tenses your muscles, and convinces you that danger is near. On the other hand, if you imagine success, joy, or calm, your body begins to align with those emotions. This is why athletes mentally rehearse winning before they compete. They know their thoughts prepare their bodies to act in alignment with victory. Another example, think about a student preparing for an exam. One student says, "I'm going to fail. I can't handle this. I'll never remember everything." Their brain releases chemicals of stress, their heart races, and their focus becomes blurry. They sit in the exam hall and their mind blanks out, fulfilling the very prophecy they kept repeating. Another student decides to focus on different thoughts. They say, "I have studied with focus, I'm ready, and my mind is sharp." They even visualize opening the exam paper, reading the questions clearly, and recalling the answers with ease. When they finally sit for the exam, their body and brain are calm and prepared. Again, the difference is not intelligence, but thought. It's the same in relationships. If someone believes people can't be trusted, love always ends in pain, their thoughts will guide their behavior in a way that attracts more disappointment. They may unconsciously push others away or misinterpret kindness as manipulation. But if someone begins to repeat to themselves, "I am worthy of love, I am ready to receive healthy relationships, and good people exist," their actions, words, and energy align with those beliefs. They become open, compassionate, and magnetic, and before long, they notice different people entering their life. When you begin to see life this way, you realize you are never a victim of circumstances. You are a participant in creation. Your repeated thoughts are like seeds planted in the soil of your mind. If you keep planting seeds of fear, doubt, and lack, then weeds will grow in every corner of your life. But if you choose to plant seeds of gratitude, strength, and possibility, then eventually your garden becomes filled with beauty and abundance. This does not mean you can control every event in your life, but it does mean you can control how you experience those events. Two people can go through the same storm, and one will say, "This storm is the end of me," while the other will say, "This storm is shaping me, teaching me, making me stronger." Which person walks out of the storm empowered? The one who managed their thoughts. You don't need to be a scientist to test this. Simply notice your daily life. Pay attention to how a single thought in the morning can shape your whole day. If you wake up and think, "I'm tired, this day is going to be terrible," you will carry that heaviness with you, and every small inconvenience will confirm your prediction. But if you wake up and say, "Today is a gift, I choose to make the most of it," suddenly the same events feel lighter and opportunities seem to appear. The truth is, your thoughts are like magnets. Whatever you hold in your mind, you begin to attract in your reality. Hold on to fear, and you'll find more reasons to be afraid. Hold on to possibility, and doors you never imagined will begin to open. So when I say your thoughts create your reality, I'm not speaking in metaphors. I'm speaking about a law as real as gravity. And the moment you begin to take responsibility for what you think, you unlock a power most people never realize they have: the power to design the life they desire instead of living the life they fear. Emotions are the record of the past. When you hear that, it might sound simple, but if you look deeper, you realize how profoundly it shapes the way we live our lives. Every emotion you have felt is tied to an experience, and every experience is stored in your memory. The problem is, many people are not living in the present moment at all. They are living through the emotions of yesterday. They wake up, and instead of seeing a brand new day, they see the world through the lens of their old wounds, old disappointments, and old fears. Think of emotions as bookmarks in the story of your life. Whenever something significant happens, good or bad, your brain and body store not just the memory of what happened, but also the chemical signature of how it felt. That's why when you think about a painful breakup from years ago, you can still feel a tightness in your chest or a knot in your stomach as if it just happened yesterday. Your body remembers even if time has passed. And so long as you keep reliving that emotion, you are trapped in the past, carrying it into your present. Let's take a daily example. Imagine someone who was embarrassed in school when they stood up to speak and everyone laughed. That experience created a strong emotional memory of shame and fear. Now, 20 years later, they are offered an opportunity to give a presentation at work. Their logical mind knows it's a different situation, different people, and that they have valuable knowledge to share. But the moment they imagine standing in front of the audience, their body remembers that old feeling. Their heart races, their palms sweat, and they back away from the opportunity. That's not the present holding them back. It's the past replaying itself through emotion. Or picture a person who was betrayed in a relationship. The betrayal is long gone. The person who hurt them may no longer even be in their life, but the emotional record is still alive. Whenever someone new tries to get close, they feel suspicion, tension, or distrust. Even if the new person is kind and genuine, they can't fully open up. Why? Because the old emotional memory is stronger than the present reality. They are not seeing the person in front of them. They are seeing the ghost of the past through the filter of emotions. This is how emotions become a prison. They are designed to help us learn from experiences, but when we hold on to them, they start repeating the past over and over again. Your mind may say, "I want to change," but your body says, "No, I remember how it felt and I want to stay safe." That is why so many people feel stuck. They are trying to create a new future while their emotions keep them tied to old patterns. But here's the hopeful part: emotions may be the record of the past, but you have the power to rewrite the record. Just as old emotions can keep you trapped, new emotions can set you free. When you begin to cultivate feelings of gratitude, joy, love, or excitement, emotions that belong to the future you want to create, you start to reprogram the body. You begin to teach it how to feel something new, something beyond what it has known. Think about a person who spent years feeling hopeless because of failure after failure. Every time they tried something new, they felt the heavy emotion of, "I'm not good enough." That emotion became their record, and it defined their life. But one day they decide to sit quietly, close their eyes, and imagine what it would feel like to succeed. They picture the relief, the joy, the confidence. At first, it feels strange, almost fake, because their body is not used to it. But the more they practice, the more real it feels. Slowly, the body begins to believe in the new record. When an opportunity comes, instead of shrinking back into the old emotional memory, they step forward with courage. They change not by logic, but by shifting their emotions. Another daily example, think of gratitude. If you end every day replaying everything that went wrong, you are reinforcing the emotional record of disappointment. But if you take just a few minutes to remember what went right, to feel thankful even for small things, you begin to record a different emotion. And the more you do it, the more your body learns that gratitude is the new normal. Suddenly, life doesn't feel like a repetition of problems. It begins to feel like a gift. The truth is, you cannot step into a new future while dragging along the emotional baggage of the past. You cannot feel joy if you keep rehearsing sadness. You cannot feel freedom if you keep practicing fear. The emotions of yesterday must be acknowledged and then released so that you can make space for the emotions of tomorrow. So when we say emotions are the record of the past, it is not a limitation, it is a reminder. It is a call to notice which emotions you are rehearsing every day. Because every time you replay anger, fear, or doubt, you strengthen the past. But every time you rehearse gratitude, peace, and courage, you strengthen the future. And that is the invitation to stop letting the past write the script for your life, to stop pressing play on old emotions, to feel new emotions before they happen, and by doing so, open the door to a new reality. Because your past is a story, but your future can be a masterpiece. And it all begins with the emotions you choose to practice today. The body follows the mind. This truth is so powerful and yet so often ignored because most people live as if their body is in control and their mind has no choice but to obey. But the reality is reversed. Whatever you repeatedly think, whatever you consistently imagine, your body will begin to express. The body is like the servant and the mind is the master. The body learns, memorizes, and reacts, but it is always taking its orders from the thoughts you feed it. Think about a time when you were preparing for something important, maybe a meeting, a performance, or even a conversation that mattered to you. The night before, your mind started running through every possibility. If you were worried, your thoughts told a story of what could go wrong. Even though nothing had happened yet, your body responded. Your heart raced, your palms grew sweaty, your stomach felt tight. This is proof that your body does not wait for reality to occur. It reacts to the mind's imagination as if it were real. Let's take a simple daily example. Imagine a person who begins every morning thinking, I'm exhausted, I don't want to face this day. Within minutes, their body reflects that thought. Their shoulders slump, their breathing becomes shallow, their energy feels low. They move slowly, drink more coffee to force energy, and the day feels like a burden. Now imagine another person who wakes up and immediately decides to think, today is an opportunity. I have the strength and energy to face it. Their body responds with a surge of vitality. Their posture straightens, their step is quicker, their face has a hint of a smile. The body simply followed the instruction of the mind. Athletes know this truth very well. Before a race or competition, they don't just train their bodies, they train their minds. A runner will close their eyes and visualize themselves sprinting muscles moving in perfect rhythm, crossing the finish line with power. As they imagine it, the body begins to fire the exact same neural circuits as if they were actually running. Over time, their body remembers the pattern created by the mind. That's why by the time they step onto the track, their body knows exactly what to do. They have rehearsed victory not only in training, but in their imagination. Consider fear as another example. A person may be sitting safely at home, but the moment they imagine a frightening outcome, like losing their job, failing a test, or getting rejected, the body follows instantly. Their chest tightens, adrenaline pumps, the body prepares for fight or flight. Nothing has happened in reality, but the body has obeyed the mind's thought. This shows how deeply the body follows. It cannot distinguish between what is happening in the outer world and what is vividly imagined in the inner world. The same works in a positive direction. When you imagine peace, when you picture yourself calm and centered, your body slows down, your heart rate steadies, your breathing deepens, your muscles release tension. If you practice this often enough, your body becomes trained to feel calm even in stressful situations. This is why meditation is so transformative. It's not just a mental exercise, it's physical training. You are teaching your body to follow the mind into new states of being. Think of someone who constantly says, I am stressed, I am anxious. I can't relax. Their mind is programming the body to live in a constant state of stress. Soon their body becomes addicted to those chemicals, cortisol and adrenaline. And even when life is calm, they feel restless. They have taught the body to lead the mind instead of the other way around. But if they begin to repeat, I am peaceful, I am capable, I am safe, and they visualize themselves acting with calm confidence, slowly the body learns a new language. Eventually, peace becomes natural, not forced. Even in health, the body follows the mind. Doctors have documented the placebo effect for decades. When patients believe they are receiving treatment, their body begins to heal, even if the pill is only sugar. The belief of the mind triggers the body's own healing systems. This is not imagination, it's biology. The body literally reorganizes itself to follow the story the mind is telling. Another everyday example, public speaking. For most people, just the thought of standing before a crowd makes the body react with fear, sweaty palms, shaky hands, dry mouth. But those who train their minds differently experience another outcome. They imagine walking confidently onto the stage, hearing applause, speaking clearly. When the moment comes, their body has already rehearsed calmness and certainty, so it expresses that reality. The most inspiring part of this truth is that it gives you power. If your body follows your mind, then by changing your thoughts, you can change how you feel, how you act, and ultimately who you become. You don't need to wait for circumstances to change before you feel better. You can create the feeling first in your mind, and your body will follow. So ask yourself, what instructions are you giving your body every day? Are you telling it to be tired, fearful, small? Or are you teaching it to be strong, vibrant, confident? Every thought you choose is a command. Every vision you create is a rehearsal. Every belief you hold is programming. And little by little, your body becomes the living proof of what your mind decided long ago. The body is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally, but it will never lead. It was never meant to. Its job is to follow. And when you take control of your mind, when you choose thoughts that empower instead of weaken, your body has no choice but to obey. This is the secret of transformation, and it is available to you in every single moment of your life. Brainwashing yourself is not about manipulation or control from the outside. It is about cleansing the old patterns that no longer serve you. For most of us, the mind is like a hard drive filled with programs written years ago, programs installed by parents, teachers, society, failures, and painful experiences. These programs repeat over and over again, telling us who we are, what we can do, and what is possible. When you brainwash yourself in the right way, you are simply deleting the corrupted files and writing new codes that align with the life you truly want to live. Think about how we pick up patterns unconsciously. A child who hears their parents say, "We'll never have enough money," grows up with that program running quietly in the background. Even when they become an adult and earn more than enough, their mind whispers, "It's not enough. I can't afford this. I'm always struggling." That thought produces the same emotions of lack and fear, and they live in constant scarcity. They are not responding to the present reality, they are reacting to an old program. Brainwashing yourself means going into that system, deleting the program of scarcity, and replacing it with a belief like, I am abundant, opportunities are all around me, I am capable of creating wealth. When repeated with emotion and vision, the new program begins to overwrite the old one. Consider relationships. Someone who has been cheated on in the past may unconsciously brainwash themselves every day with thoughts like, people can't be trusted, love always leads to pain. Without realizing it, they are rehearsing the betrayal, reliving it in their emotions, and teaching their body to expect disappointment. When a new partner comes into their life, they sabotage the relationship because the old program is running stronger than the new possibility. To brainwash yourself here would mean cleansing that fear-based belief, forgiving the past, and repeating a new program. I am worthy of love. I attract honesty and kindness. I create relationships based on trust. Over time, this repetition changes how they feel, how they act, and even who they attract. Another example is failure. Imagine someone who tried starting a business once and it didn't work. The emotional memory of that failure becomes a program. I'm not good at this. I'll probably fail again. Now, every time they think about trying, the program activates and their body feels the stress, fear, and doubt of the past. They don't move forward, not because the future is doomed, but because the past is still writing their story. Cleansing the pattern here means brainwashing themselves with new thoughts like, failure is feedback, I'm learning. I am more prepared this time, success is possible. By focusing on these thoughts every day, they gradually rewire their brain until the idea of trying again feels natural and exciting instead of terrifying. This is the heart of brainwashing yourself. It is a process of awareness and replacement. You first notice the patterns that have been playing for years, the negative self-talk, the limiting beliefs, the voices of doubt. And then you decide to replace them with intentional thoughts and visions. It's like washing a window that has been dirty for so long you forgot what clear glass looked like. Once the dirt is gone, the light shines through. Daily life gives us many small examples of this. Imagine someone who wakes up and immediately scrolls through bad news. Their mind is brainwashed with fear and negativity before they even step out of bed. Now imagine someone who wakes up and begins their morning with affirmations, visualization, or gratitude. They are brainwashing themselves with positivity, strength, and possibility. The events of the day may be the same, but the person who cleans their mind begins the day with clarity instead of chaos. Even health is affected by these programs. A person who constantly says, I'm always sick, my body is weak, I don't recover easily, is brainwashing themselves into illness. Their body follows the mind's instruction, and over time they live out that script. Another person chooses to repeat, my body is strong, I heal quickly, I am full of energy. They may still face health challenges, but their recovery is faster, their energy is higher, and their body responds differently. The only difference is the program running inside. The truth is, you cannot create a new future while the old patterns dominate your mind. You cannot live in abundance with a program of lack. You cannot find love with a program of fear. You cannot succeed with a program of failure. Cleansing those patterns is the beginning of freedom. And the beautiful part is, you don't need anyone else to do it for you. You can brainwash yourself. You can decide what you repeat, what you visualize, what you feel, and what you believe. Brainwashing yourself means choosing to become the author of your story instead of the reader of an old script. It means realizing that you are not stuck with the beliefs handed to you by your past. It means using repetition, imagination, and emotion to write a new narrative until your body, your mind, and your life all align with it. So every time you catch yourself thinking, this is just who I am, I can't change, remember that it is not who you are, it is just a program. And like any program, it can be uninstalled. The new version of you is waiting. All you have to do is cleanse the old patterns and install the new ones. That is brainwashing yourself into freedom, and it is one of the most powerful choices you will ever make. Repetition rewires the brain. These words carry a truth that can completely transform your life if you allow yourself to live by them. The brain is not a fixed organ that stays the same from birth until death. It is flexible, alive, and constantly reshaping itself. Scientists call this neuroplasticity, but you don't need a laboratory to see it in action. Every time you learn something new, every time you repeat a skill, every time you rehearse a thought, your brain literally changes. The pathways grow stronger, the signals fire faster, and what once felt difficult eventually becomes second nature. Think about how you learned to drive a car. At first, it was overwhelming. Mirrors, pedals, steering, signals, all happening at once. Your brain had no established pathway for this skill, so it felt clumsy and unnatural. But with repetition, something magical happened. The brain began to wire the movements together. What once took full concentration became automatic. Now, you can drive while holding a conversation, listening to music, or thinking about your day. The same brain that once struggled now flows with ease because repetition carved a highway where once there was only a dirt path. This truth applies not only to skills but also to beliefs. If you repeat to yourself every day, I am not good enough, that pathway becomes so strong that it feels like absolute truth. Your brain doesn't question it. It simply wires it deeper with every repetition. But the same law works in your favor. If you begin to repeat, I am capable, I am confident, I can handle challenges. At first it may feel awkward or even fake, but as you repeat it with emotion and focus, your brain slowly begins to accept it. With enough time, the thought becomes natural and your actions follow. Take a student as an example. A child who constantly hears, "You're smart, you can do this," develops strong pathways of confidence. They approach problems with the belief that they will find solutions. Another child who hears, "You're slow, you'll never get it," repeats that message so often that their brain wires it as truth. The result is hesitation, doubt, and fear of failure. Yet, if that child begins to repeat a new story, if they choose affirmations, if they visualize success, if they practice belief, those old pathways can weaken and new ones can grow. Repetition is also why habits have so much power. Imagine someone who decides to exercise. At first, their brain resists, it feels uncomfortable, maybe even painful. But every day they repeat the action, and soon the brain wires a habit. The behavior becomes automatic, and instead of resisting, their body begins to crave it. The same works in reverse. A person who repeatedly eats unhealthy food wires a craving for it. The brain has learned to expect it. But with new repetition, choosing healthier foods, rewarding the brain with new patterns, the craving shifts. Think about language learning. The first time you hear a foreign word, it feels strange, your tongue stumbles, your mind forgets. But say it again and again, write it, hear it, practice it, and suddenly it flows naturally. The brain has rewired itself to recognize and produce that sound. This is why repetition is the foundation of mastery. Even emotions are shaped this way. Someone who repeats anger every day wires their brain to be quick-tempered. Their body learns to react with frustration at the smallest inconvenience. Another person who repeats gratitude wires their brain to notice beauty, blessings, and opportunities. Over time, gratitude becomes their natural state. It is not because life is easier for them. It is because repetition has changed what their brain pays attention to. Consider someone afraid of speaking in public. The first time, their voice shakes, their heart races, their mind blanks. But if they keep repeating the experience, preparing, and showing up, each time the fear lessens. Their brain rewires from public speaking is danger to public speaking is normal. What once was terrifying becomes empowering all through repetition. This is why rituals and routines matter so much. The things you do daily shape your brain far more than the things you do occasionally. A single workout does not make you fit, but daily repetition transforms your body. One day of positive thinking does not change your life, but daily repetition of empowering thoughts rewires your brain. One act of kindness may feel small, but a repeated habit of kindness makes you compassionate. Repetition is not glamorous, it is not always exciting, but it is the silent architect of transformation. The brain is like clay, always being molded. Each thought, each action, each word you repeat is shaping it. The only question is, what are you repeating? Are you rehearsing fear, doubt, and limitations, or are you practicing courage, gratitude, and strength? The beauty of this truth is that you don't have to get it perfect right away. Change comes not from massive leaps, but from consistent repetition. One day of meditation begins the path. One affirmation begins the rewiring. One practice begins the shift. And with time, the brain cannot help but change because repetition is the law it must obey. So when you feel stuck, remember this: you are not stuck, you are simply rehearsing the same patterns. And the way out is to rehearse something new. The brain will follow. It has no choice. Repetition is the language it understands, and once you commit to repeating a new story, a new belief, a new habit, your brain will rewire itself until the new version of you feels as natural as breathing. Meditation is the doorway. It is not an escape from life, it is the opening into a new way of experiencing it. Most people think meditation is simply about sitting still, closing your eyes, or trying not to think, but in truth it is much more profound. Meditation is the practice of stepping away from the noise of the outer world and entering into the stillness of the inner world. It is the doorway through which you leave behind the constant chatter, the stress, the worries, and reconnect with the part of yourself that is calm, powerful, and unshaken. Think about the average day. From the moment you wake up, your mind is bombarded with notifications, responsibilities, conversations, and endless thoughts about what might happen or what already happened. The mind races like a storm, jumping from one thing to the next, never settling. In this state, it is impossible to truly listen to yourself, to hear the quiet voice of intuition, or to reprogram your mind for the life you want. Meditation becomes the doorway out of that storm. It gives you a place where the waves of thought can finally become still, like a lake reflecting the sky. Imagine someone who struggles with anxiety. Their mind is constantly predicting worst-case scenarios, and their body follows with racing heartbeats and shallow breathing. Every day feels like a battle against invisible fears. But then they begin a simple meditation practice, just 10 minutes of sitting, breathing, and focusing on calmness. At first, their mind resists, it tells stories, it wanders, it protests, but with repetition, something shifts. The thoughts still come, but they pass like clouds instead of storms. The body begins to calm, the breath deepens, and for the first time in years, they feel a sense of peace. Meditation became the doorway to freedom from their old emotional prison. Or think of a student overwhelmed with exams. Their mind is cluttered with doubts. What if I forget everything? What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? These thoughts drown their focus. But if that student takes a few minutes each morning to close their eyes, breathe deeply, and visualize themselves sitting calmly during the exam, writing answers with clarity, their brain begins to believe it. The fear dissolves and confidence grows. Through meditation, they walk through a doorway into a new state of mind where success feels natural. Meditation also helps people break free from the past. Imagine someone carrying pain from a broken relationship. Every day their thoughts replay the betrayal, and their emotions replay the sadness. They want to move forward, but the old memories keep them chained. In meditation, they learn to observe those thoughts without attaching to them. They watch the memory appear, but instead of drowning in it, they breathe, release, and let it pass. Slowly, the grip loosens. The past stops controlling their present, and the doorway opens into healing. Even creativity flows through this practice. Many writers, artists, and innovators use meditation to access deeper parts of the mind. When the surface chatter is silenced, inspiration rises from within. It's like clearing a fog from the road so you can finally see where you are going. A business leader facing a tough decision may find clarity in meditation that no amount of overthinking could provide. A painter struggling with a block may sit quietly, and in the stillness, a new vision appears. The doorway opens to creativity that was always there, waiting beneath the noise. Meditation is not about running away from problems, but about facing them from a higher state of being. When you are lost in stress, you see problems as mountains that block your way. When you meditate, you rise above and see that the mountain is only a hill, and there is always a path forward. The problem doesn't disappear, but your perspective changes, and with that change comes power. Daily life gives endless opportunities to step through this doorway. A mother exhausted from caring for her children can find 10 minutes of silence and emerge with renewed patience. A professional stressed about deadlines can meditate in the morning and carry calmness into their work, making them more productive instead of frantic. Even a person battling illness can use meditation to send signals of healing and peace into their body, supporting recovery. The beauty of meditation is that it requires no special tools, no expensive equipment, and no perfect setting. All it needs is you, your breath, and your willingness to be present. The more you practice, the more you realize that peace was never something outside to be chased. It was always inside, waiting for you to open the door. Meditation is truly the doorway because once you step through it, everything in your outer world begins to shift. You react less to negativity because you have found your center. You see opportunities where before you only saw obstacles. You feel gratitude where before you only felt lack. You discover that your mind is not your master, it is your servant, and meditation is how you train it. So when life feels overwhelming, when the noise becomes too loud, remember you carry the doorway within you. Close your eyes, breathe, and step through. On the other side lies clarity, peace, and the power to create the life you deserve. Meditation is not a small practice. It is the entrance to an entirely new way of living.